Warm greetings and welcome to everyone. Respected Director General of Department of Archaeology, respected Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Civilizations, the respected Vice Chancellor of Lumini Buddhist University, our colleague Mr. Sanuraja Sakya, Member Secretary of Lumini Trust, our very esteemed and distinguished experts, Professor Benjamin Marshall, Professor Robin Cunningham, Kai Waise, eminent scholars, Dr. Christoph Cooper, Vasundhara Dadiji, colleagues from Department of Archaeology, Nagazi from UNESCO, the Archaeologists Community Development Trust. Once again, warm greetings to all of you. It is very auspicious that right after the Jayanti, while we are all here in the sacred grounds of Lumini, we have this focused seminar on the nomination of Tilaurakot Kapilvastu. I would like to acknowledge the Department of Archaeology, Lumini Development Trust. IZ, Professor Robin Cunningham have been working very tirelessly past several years to understand archaeological history, to understand the morphology of Kapilvastu site. IZ and us, we have been deliberating for many years. Despite COVID and everything, somehow, miraculously, we've come to this stage now. Even the conference, I like to remember they caused a bit of anxiety whether we can make it happen in such a short time or not. As you are aware, Lumini received some very high-level distinguished visitors. But as it is said, all that ends well was well. This has come to a good situation, something that we can rejoice, something that we can breathe in and listen to. I look forward to hearing the experts as we try and understand Kapilvastu better from several aspects. From Buddhist point of view, various suttas, the early Buddhist literature, almost around more than 20 suttas, they talk about Kapilvastu in general. Later day sources, particularly Sanskrit sources, they tend to romanticize a little bit on Kapilvastu, perhaps because of the history between them, their further association with the exact timeline of the Buddha. Whereas the suttas, the Pali suttas, which are believed to be closer to Buddha's timeline themselves, their description on Kapilvastu, their description of the Tilaurakot region, the palace of King Suddhodana, and so forth, they help us understand the socio-political aspect of that landscape. Later day, of course, as it transformed from a kingdom, from a socio-political community to that of a pilgrimage, as exemplified in the travelogues of the Chinese visiting pilgrims, Yixing, Fashion, Shenzhen, and so forth, we see a massive shift from that of a small travel kingdom located at the base of Himalayas to that of a pilgrimage and religious landscape. We hear about monasteries that house hundreds and hundreds of monks. We hear about all these particular sites that mark important events in the life of Siddhartha Gautama, and they help us create an image in the mind and hearts of Buddhist followers all over the world. Particularly Burmese and Thai tradition, they have a special affinity with Tilaurakot, with the Palace of Buddha. They talk about the three palaces, Ramya, Suramya and Suva, offered to Buddha by his parents. They also talk about the demise of Kapilvastu as a capital city. They talk about the war between Koshalan prince Virudaka and that of the Sakyan tribe. And there is a particular mention of interest to us also. We hope that the experts will enlighten us on this further, that this very important discussion will help us understand that, and of course help develop the narrative, based upon which we can approach the nomination dossier. But these early sources, they talk about that the Sakyan people, Sakyan tribes, they used to have sanstagara, large halls, perhaps supported by giant timber wooden posts. They talk something in the old measurement, 1 arm length, so 80 arm lengths of height. Great sanstagaras, great halls of the Sakyas were there, where the Sakyas used to gather to discuss important matters about the state. One particular sutta also talks about, actually one of the Nidhanakatas, one of the commentaries talks about that when Virudaka, the Koshalam king, wanted to enter the Santagara, the Sakyans refused. It led to one of the disputes in the Great Hall. These are important point of interest for us in the sense that, as Professor Ravi Cunningham may enlighten us further, archaeological activities conducted under his direction, they talk about these post holes. So many remains around Tilaurakot fortification. So I see a bit of wonderful overlapping of history, legend and myth backed by the archaeological evidence. I see many layers, one political, social, tribal layer, one that of the landscape, vastly influenced by pilgrimage, monastic culture, tradition, that of devotion, that of reminiscing the life and journey of a young Prince Siddhartha, sort of the natural landscape of Gautama the Buddha. And underneath there is another layer, I don't know how far we want to dig, another layer, that of matriarchy. Buddha's mother, for example, say entering in a temple, Ishwaradeva temple, to do a fast, and so forth. Even today, we have the shrine of Shamayamai that is of special interest to the women here, associated with the women and the child and well-being and health and so forth. I hope the experts will discuss those in detail. As Kaisi has said, that the scope of Kapilvastu is very vast, and we have to be very specific and selective on how we define the outstanding universal values. My humble request would be that let's try and do that so that it includes the sentiment of the wider Buddhist community all over the world. Even today, the old palace of Bagan, perhaps one of the only remaining Buddhist kingdom-type palaces, has very romanticized drawings, sketches of Kapilvastu. Perhaps trying to imagine and recreate it, but adorning the halls of where the king's assembly used to be. Even the Thai old palace has drawings of Kapilvastu, an event associated with Kapilvastu, for example, the plowing ceremony, Siddhartha meditating under the plum tree and so forth.